So the public sentiment whenever politicians and other prominent leaders in our political space are seen to be displaying like a certain level of wealth and opulence, luxury, no matter who the culprit is at that time, the sentiment from the public is mainly negative. You see this a lot on social media. Even when you listen to radio, TV, the opinion is mainly negative. And it's very simple to understand why this is the case every single time, no matter who's on the chopping board, no matter which team they play for. It's the same sentiment every single time. And I look at it as saying, this is the same public, right, that is told, especially of recent updates coming from the Department of Education, that they now have to do massive budget cuts, which are impacting the system from uptaking new teachers, despite the fact that the demand is increasing. This is the same public that is having to face the reality that South Africa has got an issue of hiring doctors. There isn't enough money to hire doctors. Doctors are taken to the streets to protest, asking for government to give them jobs, asking to get work somewhere, somehow. This is the same public, right, that is having to live in a country or in an environment where crime is on a high, heightened crime, where people are literally feeling fearful and are exposed to crime at any time of the day, at no matter what level, no matter where you are in the country. You are constantly exposed to crime. Being outside of your house is being exposed to crime, whether it's someone stealing your phone, whether it's hijacking, whether it's cybercrime when you're browsing social media, or even crime that could end up risking your life, the scary one. This is also the same public, right, that is having to now face the reality of a strained job market. South Africa's job market is on a decline. PNet recently released a job markets trend report, which basically is showing that there's a 10% decline in job postings between 2023 and 2024. There's 10%, less 10% of jobs that are being advertised in 2024 compared to the previous year, 2023. Where expected opportunities, or where opportunities are expected to sort of plummet and increase, this is very limited industries. Some of these industries include engineering and the medical industry, even if it comes to things like media, which media would have a slightly low entry requirement. It's very specific to people who are in the graphic design space, to people who are writers. The only challenge with this is that not every single person is either pursuing, if you're currently in university, most people are not pursuing those degrees. Most people are not pursuing qualifications that are in sort of like the top high demand industries. Other qualifications that exist that are being offered at universities, what's going to happen? What happens to those prospects of those people being hired? The situation is just begging for ease. It's begging for change, and the right kind of change, not the one where we basically shift blame, and especially not the one where we are so willing as South Africans to give even more power and responsibility over to the government, even in areas that are really critical, like health. I'm going to make an example to kind of drive my point. When I was young, 10, 11, 13 or so, I used to enjoy wrestling. I used to love wrestling. It was a great opportunity to hang out with my neighbors, friends, my sister, who we grew up quite close to each other, and it was amazing, right? And part of the reason why I enjoyed wrestling so much also leaned on the fact that I really believed that the fights and the smacking of chairs and all of that was real. I believed that that's literally what the players were enduring, right? Because now there was rivalry, you had a side, you had your favorite, that whole experience was important because that's what kept me hooked, that's what kept me interested in the thing. And I love the idea of wrestling. I just was so hooked to this. I literally dismissed what this person said. The way I processed that information, it came in through this ear, out the other ear, because I wanted to hold on to my experience, what I love about it. I had to believe that it's not true. Of course, I'm 31 now. All of that is done. I know it is not true. It was just all part of entertainment, or creating entertainment and keeping people tuned in and interested. Therefore, a lot of it was just curated. I'm okay with that idea now. Then, not so much. So the example that I just made about my perspective of wrestling ties in quite closely to how many of us view the world, how many of us view politics, how many of us view governance, the role of government, how government should situate itself. It is all pretty much the same thing. But the biggest difference is that politics is basically your life. If politics is not stable, if politics is not working well, if politics is not strong, if politics is polluted, that reflects in your everyday life. If someone comes, or if you start hearing a group of people, voices that are bringing in a different argument, right, and they are proposing a different way of approaching things, it is not advised, it's not smart to just dismiss it. The least you can do is to take the time, go to your space, research, look into it yourself, understand the full merit of it. Because what's happening now is that it's almost like there's a very set flow of information and ideas, and it's almost like we've made up our minds that we're going to do things the same year in, year out, election in, election out, and still hope for a different outcome. How? It starts with us allowing our mindset to change. When someone says free market, when someone says for the economy to grow, the government must get away, the government must stop interfering, that is not an insult. That is not something that you should frown upon. I would say pause. Go look at countries that have a successful economy. Go look at countries where people are actually enjoying the benefits of working, where people are able to enjoy the money that they make. Go look into those countries and see what is it that they're doing differently to us. When someone comes in and says that government cannot hold power to the extent of them wanting to initiate an NHI bill, and then they want to manage NHI funds and scrap medical aid, that is not an insult. That is not an insult to anyone. You need to then ask yourself the question, is the South African government particularly fit to be able to take that responsibility? Because we know South African government does not have the right accountability structures in place, not that I've seen. So what happens if that fails? Who's going to be held accountable? Your life? You're willing to risk your own life? Because health is wealth. Health is wealth. Thank you so much for checking out my video. Please remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. I look forward to seeing you again soon.